Good morning. So let's start heavy today because why not? Okay. So my dad didn't choose me. My dad did not choose me. And I remember the moment I had that realization. It was many years ago. I was on campus at Wayne State University. I was enrolled as pre med at the time. And I remember having a very specific thought. And that very specific thought was, my dad did not choose me. Now, if you guys have been following me for any amount of time, you might have seen or heard about somebody sent to you a viral post that I have on my page. It was a clip from a speaking engagement I did back in Omaha, Nebraska earlier this year. And in that clip, I shared three things outside of diet and exercise that we should all be super mindful about when it comes to our health. And so in that viral clip, I listed sleep. I listed the importance of eliminating chronic stress, and I listed the importance of living a life of purpose. I talked about how healing, living in your purpose is. I talked about how we shouldn't be managing stress, but we should be eliminating stress. And I talked about the importance of sleep. But there's one thing in that clip that I believe trumps all three of those things when it comes to our health and when it comes to optimizing our health. Good morning from Chicago. Hey, Instagram. Hey, YouTube. In that viral clip, again, I shared these three things that I believe to be pivotal when it comes to optimizing our health. But there was one thing that I did not share in that clip, and I want to share it with you this morning. And this one thing I believe has been way more impactful than my vegan diet. This one thing, this one experience has been way more impactful than me even eliminating chronic stress, believe it or not. This one thing has been way more impactful than me living in my purpose. Now, wait a minute now, because that's the big one, right? Purpose truly does heal. And when you get to wake up every day and do what you feel like you were called to do and what God has ordered you to do, it really changes things. But if I was to go back to that stage in Omaha, Nebraska, and if I had that opportunity to talk to that audience again, and if I was going to share with that audience something that I believe has had the biggest impact above and beyond everything else, and my ability to live optimally healthy, it would be healing. It would be healing from the trauma I have experienced, right? So, what I decided to do, because I've talked um, long and hard, and we've had great conversations about chronic stress. I did a master class about it last week in October for you guys. I've done plenty of other master classes about it, and I've been sending you guys those replays. So, what I want to do for the entire month of October, is I've decided to make the entire month of October dedicated to healing. And what I'm going to do for the entire month of October is we're going to delve every Monday this month into topics around healing. So today, I'm going to talk to you about where my healing journey started, how I knew I needed to heal. Today, I'm going to share with you how I identified that I needed to heal and the three things that I suggest you do to begin healing. And as we go through the weeks in October, I'm going to unravel that more and more. Next week, for example, I'm going to talk to you about what being unhealed cost me. Okay. The week after, I'm going to share with you three accomplishments I've been able to have since healing. And then finally, I'm going to talk about the very final step in the healing process. And so this month is dedicated to healing because I believe if there's anything, I'm a plant-based health coach. I'm a plant-based business coach. I specialize in optimizing individuals' health through a whole food plant-based lifestyle, through emotional intelligence, and through the elimination of chronic stress. But if there's something that I feel like I don't talk about enough, it is the power of healing. And so this month, the month of October, is dedicated to healing. Today, let's get into it. The one thing that has trumped every other thing I've done in my life when it comes to optimizing my health. Because I like to brag that I'm a 12 out of 10. If you've never heard me say that or use that language before, I'm a 12 out of 10, right? I'm a 12 out of 10 in physical health. I'm a 12 out of 10 in emotional health. I'm a 12 out of 10 in mental health most days because running your own business is crazy. Okay. But healing, I don't feel like I've spent enough stage time talking about. And so let me tell you why it's so important. My dad did not choose me. Okay. My dad did not choose me. And so many years ago, I was in school at Wayne State University, which I did not graduate from. Okay. But I went back to school in my 30s because I wanted to become a doctor. And so I wanted the MD behind my name. And so I went back to school. I enrolled pre med at Wayne State University in downtown Detroit. And I decided, that I was going to take these classes and I was going to do the work, even though I was like almost 20 years older than everybody in my classes. I decided I was going to start the process at a very older age than the average student to become an MD, right? And so I was sitting on campus and I was in between classes and I was sitting in the student center. And in the student center, I had my headphones on and I was listening to a podcast. And in my ears, Les Brown was talking about how his mom chose him. Les Brown was sharing the story of him and his twin brother being adopted, right? And Les Brown was sharing this story, and he was sharing the story with so much passion, y'all. He was sharing the story with so much fervor. He was sharing the story with so much joy and happiness that I was jealous. Okay. I'm like, damn, Les, right? Stop bragging on us. Okay. I mean, he was talking about, now let's be clear. Les Brown was adopted, which means his biological parents made a choice to allow someone else to raise them. And he was talking about how he was chosen by his adoptive mother. Okay. He was talking about the moment he can recall when his biological mom took him and his brother and handed him off to his adoptive mom. Right. And he was talking about how proud he is to have been adopted because his adoptive mother chose him. And I was like, okay, go off, Les. Right. And so he kept saying this thing over and over again about like being chosen. Like, I'm so happy to have been chosen by my adoptive mom. I'm so happy she chose me. And I'm like, slow down, bro. What you like? And so it occurred to me in that moment that my biological father didn't choose me. And my mom and my biological dad, like I knew him. He's not unknown to me. Right. Him and my mom were married. They got divorced. They did some visitation stuff. And they co-parented for a while. And then one day, like I was in elementary school, I was really young. And one day he decided to stop visiting. He decided to stop participating in co-parenting. And I've never seen him since to this day. Right. So it wasn't like, oh, I never knew who he was, or, I was born without a father or whatever it is. It was, he was there and then he decided not to be there. Right. And so as I was listening to Les Brown talk about his adoptive mother choosing him, it reminded me that I was not chosen, right? That my father decided to one day stop visiting me. And that was that. And so as I was listening to this, tears started to stream down my face and I could not get this repetitive thought in my head. He didn't choose me. He didn't choose me. It just kept playing back and forth, back and forth. He didn't choose me. He didn't choose me. He didn't choose me. Right. And I couldn't, like, it was like a broken record. It was it was a broken record that I couldn't turn off. Right. Like I unplugged the record player. I tossed it out the window and the record kept playing. He didn't choose me. He didn't choose me. He didn't choose me. I said, okay, well, I need to do something about this, right? Because I got to get out of this loop. I got to get out of this thought loop. I got to shut this record off, right? I got to play a different tone. And so I remember in that moment, I decided, okay, I must need help. I must need to get therapy. I must need to get some type of assistance with addressing this belief that my dad didn't choose me. Has anybody else had that experience before? You guys tell me, has anyone, like, you guys are on your healing journey, or maybe you've healed, but you were once on this journey, and did you have a moment? I don't know. Just drop it in the chat for me here on YouTube. Good morning. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Marja. Tell me, have you guys had a moment where you recognized in real time, oh, this is what I need to heal from. Like, this is what I need to work on. Like you were triggered by something, because that podcast with Les Brown is what triggered me. Les was simply telling his childhood story, and it triggered me. Right. Unknowingly, it wasn't before listening to this podcast. I wasn't thinking about my father. Like before this moment on this campus of Wayne State University, it wasn't something that was disrupting my life. right? So this was the moment for me. Like before this moment, I wasn't running from it. I wasn't like, it wasn't avoidance. Like it was just all of a sudden in that moment in time, listening to Les Brown tell his story, I was triggered. Shout out to Latasha46 on Instagram. She said, yes, he denied me twice. Shout out to Divine Womb and Birth, who says, absolutely. Regina says, I've been there. Okay. Yes. Lawanda, yes. You have a recurring loop after finding you 2 weeks ago. Wow. Well, thank you, Lawanda. She said you have been a recurring loop for me after finding you 2 weeks ago. Hey, Lawanda, just 2 weeks old in the ecosystem. Welcome, girl. Welcome to the shenanigans. I love it. Melissa on YouTube says, yes, mine is a root of rejection. And she said, like you, I was listening to a podcast. Yeah, right. So first of all, just like super side note, super pause. This is a side dish like this. They brought this extra to the table courtesy of the chef. You didn't ask for this side dish, but here's a side dish, okay? This is why it's so important to tell our stories. Like you don't have to tell it too early before you've healed from it or before you're ready to talk about it. But for those of you who are really scared about putting your face on camera or your voice on a mic, this is why it's so important that we heal to a place where it's comfortable enough for us to do it, because it helps other people. You guys know this intuitively. We have probably all been helped by listening to somebody else. But I just want to encourage those of you who are discouraged about being on camera, being in front of people, talking in front of people. It's like, once you do the work to get comfortable enough with telling your story, tell your story. Okay. All right. Thanks for that side dish, chef. Okay. So back to the show. Okay. So a lot of you have had those moments where you were like triggered, where you realized that there was something you needed to work on. And that was the moment for me, listening to Les Brown on this podcast. Right. And so I was like, okay, boom, I need to do something about this. And inevitably I got a therapist, and she helped me begin to work through my feelings of rejection by my biological father. She helped me begin to put into perspective, and she actually challenged the stories I was telling myself, because what I was telling myself is that I wasn't enough to be loved. I wasn't enough. And I just had all of these limiting beliefs about not being enough. And she helped to challenge those for me. She really helped to challenge those for me. All right. And so what I want to give to you guys today that I think will be super useful is kind of a very short framework to help you begin the healing process. And I'll tell you how I did it for myself, and then we'll get out of here. Okay. So number one, I think there's kind of three things I want to give you guys. Okay. And the first is, how do you know that whether or not you need to be healed by something? Okay. Look out for triggers. Okay. Pay attention to what you're attracted to. Look out for those moments where you feel extremely vulnerable in the conversation, where you feel extremely vulnerable in the exchange, right? It might be in your relationship with another human. It might be when you're just listening to a podcast or watching something on television or on social media, right? Pay attention to what triggers you. Right? Like, why does this trigger me? Why does this video trigger me? Why does this meme trigger me? Why does this book or this story that this author is telling in this book? Why is this? So start paying attention. And this is all about essentially paying attention to what triggers you. Is all about self-awareness. So this is an invitation to be more self-aware. This is an invitation to slow down a little bit, and acknowledge the things that triggers you, that sparks an emotion in you, right? So because before we can even start the healing process, we have to know that there is something there that we need to heal from. And let's be clear, not all experiences that you've had that haven't been pleasant require you to heal from them. Like, I don't want to make our entire lives one big ball of trauma. But when you are triggered by something that maybe the average person is not, or someone else isn't, and the rest of us can just scroll past it, watch it, and be like, oh, that was a thing. But you're like in tears about it, or you're in your feelings about it, or it just resonates in your spirit, or triggers a record that won't cut off, right? That is an indicator that, hey, this needs attention, right? You know how, like, well, some of you might not know this, but in health, when our body is compromised, the signal that our body is compromised is called inflammation. Okay. And so people typically think inflammation is a bad thing. Inflammation is not a bad thing. Chronic inflammation is. Inflammation in it itself is a great thing because it's how we know that something is wrong. If we're chopping up vegetables and we cut our finger, the swelling, the bleeding, the pain we'll feel is inflammation. That sends a signal to us that that finger needs attention, right? And so essentially what I'm inviting you to is to look out for signs of emotional inflammation. I just made that up. Call me deep, call me not deep. I don't know. Cause y'all know sometimes the internet be too deep for its own good. But because I work in the health space, it's the only analogy I could think of on the fly. So look out for signs of emotional inflammation, right? You see something, you hear something, you read something, you're in a conversation with someone, and something hits an emotion for you. It hits a button for you, right? Look out for those things, right? Because those are the moments where you're being invited to work on something. You are being invited to work on something. So the first kind of step in this healing process so that we can optimize our health above and beyond what we could have ever imagined. Like healing has been the most effective experience I've ever had in my health journey, right? And so we have to do this work, but sometimes we don't know where to start. And so where to start is look out for those triggers, look out for those moments where you experience something and it sparks something for you. Pay attention to what you're most attracted to in this season of your life. Pay attention to what you're most attracted to. I remember doing a yoga class one time, and the yoga instructor, she said, we're attracted to what we need, right? We're attracted to what we need. She was like, even down to certain colors, because, certain colors align with our chakras. And she was like, so if you're attracted to green right now, if you're attracted to yellow right now, if you're attracted to orange right now, it's an invitation to play closer to your intuition. Or one color is connected to your third eye. And it was deep. And she was like, just pay attention to what you're attracted to, because what you're attracted to is an invitation of what needs attention. Okay. So that's kind of the prerequisite to healing. Now let's get into the 3 steps to begin the healing process. And this is the steps I took. So I want to tell you guys what I did. I want to share with you guys what worked for me. Okay. So my healing process can be summed up in 3 things. And the first thing is acknowledge you're not okay and call out for help. Acknowledge you're not okay and call out for help. Okay. So when I was shedding tears sitting there at Wayne State University in the student center, in between classes, thinking it's about to be a normal day, who knew my whole life was about to explode, right? But as I was sitting there and the tears started streaming, I'm like, okay, I'm crying from this podcast. I need to acknowledge that I am not okay in this area and thinking about my father, right? But the next part of acknowledging you're not okay is being intentional about crying out for help. Now, I remember my coach said something one time that was super prolific to me. It was just so provocative. And he said, there's a difference between crying for help and crying out for help, right? And when you cry out for help, you're at your most vulnerable state. You are positioning yourself to be more vulnerable. Like, is this almost like equivalent to like getting on your knees, like surrendering. So don't just cry for help, cry out for help. And there's a difference, which brings us to number 2, right? So number 1, you're going to acknowledge you're not okay and you're going to cry out for help, right? Meaning you're going to allow yourself to become the most vulnerable version of you, and recognize that I need help. I need assistance in this area. I need to heal from this thing. And I don't necessarily know where to start. Right? Which brings us to number 2. This is the second thing I did in my healing journey. So after acknowledging I wasn't okay and crying out for help, I sought wise counsel, right? Okay. So we probably have all heard this phrase before, seek wise counsel. Now, here's the super cool thing about seeking wise counsel. If you do number 1, cry out for help, it is highly probable that number 2 will almost appear out of nowhere. So do you guys know the phrase, When the student is ready, the teacher will appear, right? I remember I said that to a client one time, and she was just so impressed, like, "Oh my God, that is so true." I'm like, it's such a common phrase in my world. I'm like, I didn't make it up. But she was just like, "That is so true." But when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, right? Now, when you cry out for help, that is essentially you proclaiming that you are ready. And so here's what happened. Guys, I have been a speaker for a very long time, right? And I was many years ago, I was in a suburb of Detroit because I had been invited to speak on this podcast, right? So I was at the studio, the podcast studio, and it was me and a couple other guests. And that particular episode, the theme for that episode was about health. So of course I was the health expert in the room on like more like physical health and nutrition. And then another one of the guests was a guest on the show about mental health, right? And Jamila was the guest about mental health. And as we're doing the podcast, right, the conversation, you guys know how you be in a conversation, and even though you're supposed to be given to the conversation, like donating your expertise to the conversation, you getting so much out of it, you think you owe them at the end of the session, right? Because she was waxing deep. It's nothing like people being in their bag and knowing their stuff. And so I'm going deep on my nutrition science and physical health, and she's going deep on mental health, and she was a therapist, right? And Jamila became my first therapist, right? I don't think it's a coincidence that, I had just recently had this triggering experience about my father. And then fast forward, and here I am sharing the stage with a therapist who is saying everything I needed to hear. So when we got done, when we left the podcast studio, I'm like, where do I sign up? Like, how do I like tap into your services? And the rest is literally history. So when I say seek wise counsel, you can absolutely be proactive, right? And seek out counsel, but you can also just cry out for help. And when the student is ready, the therapist will appear. You feel me? And so I thought I just love the way God works. It's just like so magical. And so there we were, me and Jamila in the studio sharing the mic together, but she became my therapist, right? And seeking wise counsel over the years throughout my healing process has been more than therapy. I have had coaches, I have had communities, right? I have had friends and colleagues, right? And so going through that process, I even have, people who work for me on my team who really, because I've shared my journey with my biological father, they have shared theirs, and we have been able to help one another, right? And so it all kind of compounds into this wonderful like team of counsel, right? You have therapists, you have coaches, you have friends, you have communities of people when you are bold enough to share and cry out for help. And so that will be number 2. So number 1, acknowledge you need help, acknowledge that you're not okay, and cry out for help. And then number 2, seek wise counsel. But the cheat code here is if you really do number 1, you won't even have to seek. Counsel will appear. Okay. At least that was my personal experience. Now, here's number 3. Here's the third thing I did to heal. And I'm going to share this with you guys. And I need you guys to prioritize number 3. I need you guys to put an asterisk next to it. I need you to take it extremely serious. I need you to understand that this third one is the most important step in healing, okay? Is the most important step in healing, and everything can only happen in this order. You can't do these steps out of order. You got to acknowledge you're not okay and cry out for help. Then you have to seek wise counsel. But the third step in the healing process, do what you're told. Listen to me very carefully. There is no point in seeking wise counsel if you are not going to be coachable, if you are not going to surrender to the help you have sought. You have to do what you told. So when I got into Jamila's office, and she started giving me homework at the end of every session, I had to acquiesce. If I wanted to heal, I had to do the things she was telling me to do. When she told me to go home and make a list of I had to go home and make the list. When she told me to take a walk and think about this, when she told me to reach out and do this, because I told her I was really interested in finding my father, And so I begin the process of seeking my father. I'm in the city county office asking for death certificates, trying to see if he was even still alive. Like, I'm reached out to my mom. Hey, I see his name on my birth certificate. Like, what can you tell me about him? Does he have any living family members or names that you remember? Like, I had to do my homework. And so it's super important that when you do don't do number 2 if you're not willing to do number 3. Guys, do not seek wise counsel if you're not ready to do the work and the homework that the counsel gives you. It's paramount. And I know this from being a coach for so many years. I have had students that came to me ready to be coached, and I have had students came to me just ready to hear what I know, but not necessarily ready to do the work. And it's like their results are like night and day. Right. And so healing has been by far the most important and impactful experience I have had in my health journey, above and beyond my plant-based vegan lifestyle, above and beyond optimizing things like sleep and exercise and rest, above and beyond eliminating chronic stress, which y'all know I will talk about till I'm blue in the face, and above and beyond even living in my purpose. It has been healing. But if we are not willing to do the work that the healing process will demand of us, then the healing will be prolonged, right? However, the surrender, and that's why the counsel should be wise, right? Because if you're going to question everything they ask you to do, apparently you don't believe in who you selected to help you heal. Okay. And so the counsel, don't miss that word, not just seek counsel, but seek wise counsel, so that you already believe in them. You already believe in their approach to healing and to helping you heal. And so all you have to do is be coachable, right? And so those are the things that I believe have been most impactful for me. I wanted to share that with you guys today because this viral clip that is going around the internet like gangbusters is, I was like, shoot, like you never know what's going to go viral. And then when it does, you like think about all the stuff you could have said. And like, who knew this clip was going to literally get an audience of millions? And because it has an audience of millions, I'm like, I got the attention of millions of people. I should have told them everything I know. And this is why a spirit of excellence is so important, because you got to show up with a spirit of excellence with everything that you do, because you never know when what you're about to say is going to capture the ears of millions. But if I had a chance to do that thing again, it would definitely be, I would add a bonus one, which is you have to heal. Right. And in that particular clip, I was talking to an audience of mostly Black women and, people of color. We have healing from our lifetime, and we have healing from generations of lifetimes, right? And so it's just imperative that we pay attention to what triggers us, pay attention to what we're attracted to, so that we can do that deeper level work to optimize our well-being, right? Okay, so as we wrap up, let's go through the plan for the month, because I need you guys back here every Monday, because this is not the end of the healing conversation. Okay, so I told you guys what I needed to heal from today. I shared that story with you. I told you guys how to identify if you need to heal from something. Then I gave you 3 things you need to do to begin the healing process. Okay, you're welcome. Listen, another side note, the chef is back at the table bringing a side dish courtesy of the chef. Another side note, okay, because sometimes I got to get in my business bag. You guys who create content for your business or for whatever your initiative is, you got to start making your free content like this, your podcast, your YouTube, your Instagram. You got to start making your free content better than some people's paid content. You have to, I need you guys to really put good, solid, quality thought into your content, because I really think about you guys before I get on here every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern, and thinking about what I think you need to hear, what season we're in. Because you guys notice, if you read my bio, I specialize in plant-based nutrition science. I specialize in lifestyle science. I specialize in weight loss. But for the past several months, I've been coming on here every week and talking about personal development. Why? Why did I slightly deviate from what I normally talk about because I pay attention to what you guys need, and then I go in the lab and I create content based on what I'm feeling you guys need. It is so important to create really good content and make your good content better than some people's free or paid content so that people come back and people believe in you. Just do your audience a service. If you have an audience and they've given you the generosity of their attention, like do them a good service. Okay, anyway, all right. I've been watching a lot of content about content lately, and it's just really important to me that we do very well for people. Okay, finally. So here's what's going to happen for the rest of October. Okay, all these side dishes, courtesy of the chef. Okay, so here's what's going to happen for the rest of October because I wanted to make this a theme. I wanted to make healing the theme for the month of October. And so next week, next Monday, I'm going to talk to you guys about what being unhealed costs me. So I'm going to share with you guys what it cost me to be unhealed for so long. And I can't wait to tell you that story so that you guys understand the risk of not healing as quickly as possible. When I say as quickly as possible, I'm not suggesting you rush the process. I'm suggesting you give it energy, right? Because where our focus goes, our energy flows. And so I'm inviting you to focus on those parts of you that may need work sooner than later so that you can stop running the risk of compromising your life and your outcomes because you're unhealed, okay? So next week, I'm going to talk to you guys about what being unhealed costs me. Then the following week, the third Monday this month, I'm going to talk about my proudest accomplishments that I've had since being healing, and they might be kind of surprising. And so I'm excited to talk about that. I'm going to share with you guys there's three of them, three super proud accomplishments that I've had since healing so that you can hear about the rewards of what happens when you do this work. And then finally, the last Monday this month, I'm going to share with you guys kind of the very final step in the healing process. It's going to be so dope because it was a conversation that I had with a client recently, and I'm going to let you guys into the inner workings of that conversation. It was actually a conversation I had with my entire mastermind community. And so that is going to be week number 4, where I talk to you guys about the final step in the healing process of what to look out for, because it's a step that will make you believe that you're not healed, but you really are, but you don't know that you are because this thing keeps happening. Anyway, I don't want to give it all away. So it's exciting times this month. So as we move forward in these conversations just around what's required to optimize our health, I want to make sure I give you guys everything and don't like a plant-based diet is not a panacea. Like a great workout regimen is not a panacea. Like just getting good sleep is not going to be enough, right? Eliminating chronic stress, extremely powerful, but still not enough. Living a life of purpose changes the game, but still not enough. And so I want to make sure as I think about what's required for us to live optimally, mind, body, spirit, and emotionally, that we touch on these things and we touch on them in detail, because I'm not a fan of high level conversations that don't give tangible things that people can do. Like I'm just not a fan of like overviews. You know what I mean? Like somebody asked me, somebody called me recently and was like, hey, we need to do a workshop. We're looking at you to come to North Carolina to do kind of a workshop with a group of people from the community about nutrition and health and science. And I was like, okay. I was like, and so they were like, so how much would you charge for that? And I asked him, I said, well, I got several questions, but the first one is this a one-time deal, or is this a potentially long-term relationship where I will have the opportunity to work with these people repeatedly? I was like, because what I don't care for is doing commercials. I don't like doing commercials. Like I don't necessarily like it when I'm booked to speak to someone's audience or community and it's a one-time deal and I got to give like basically it's a speech full of punchlines, but I don't really get to delve deep and give people tangible steps to take. And most importantly, I don't get to see them again, to give them that accountability, to give them those reminders to answer the new questions they're going to have after doing the first thing I told them to do. And so when I'm booked with audiences and with organizations. I love for it to, I'm like, can we do a series? Can we do multiple workshops? Like, I just hate doing commercials. Like, yeah, we just want you on stage 30 minutes, tell them something good and motivate them to go get healthy. I'm like, okay, but can I come back? So my point in telling y'all all that mess was that I'm coming back for the next 3 Mondays, and we're going to get into the weeds with this healing thing because it is my preference to go deep instead of going wide. Right. And so I hope this was helpful for you guys today. Somebody on Instagram said, come on, favored B. Okay. She said, I imagine that's a young lady. Will that be 10 a.m. every Monday, please? Absolutely. So for those of you who may be fairly new to me, I have a lot of new people. Welcome to the shenanigans. I'm live every Monday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, and talking about those components of our health that we need to be paying attention to optimize it. And so sometimes it's nutrition science I'm talking about, and then other times it's the more personal development stuff, the emotional stuff. And then sometimes, because I teach business too, I'm just in the mood to talk business. I think that was where I was last week. And so sometimes I talk business and to kind of teach you guys what's required to have a successful service-based online business. And so, because that's where I am, I have a coaching company. And so that's all I have for today. Was this helpful today? Before I hop off, let me see. You guys mind giving me just a takeaway, maybe? Any takeaways from today? Like, I don't usually put y'all on the spot and ask y'all to do this, but I've been on the spot for 35 minutes and 37 seconds. So favorite B says, thanks a lot, Lisa. You are amazing. Oh, okay. Let me do the heart emoji. Heart emoji. Is that it? Heart emoji. Jennifer. Oh, look. Oh, I didn't even know YouTube and Instagram did that. I got to start throwing y'all more love, more off. Let's do it again, y'all. Let's see. Did it work? Oh, that's super cool. Look at the hearts. I love it. Okay. They did it again on Instagram. Super cool. Okay. So, Jennifer Mom 6122 said it was very helpful. Me26 said health, yeah. I love it. DH on YouTube says, of course, you always bring the knowledge. Excellent. Favorite B says, so beautiful. Love you guys. Melissa says, yes, it was helpful. My takeaway was when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Oh my God. LSAN, L Sanchez. I was about to spell your whole name. I'm like, what's all these random letters? Okay, L Sanchez 967 says, it's worth the work. It's so worth the work. I don't think you guys understand how healed I am. So I'm writing my book right now, right? I've been telling y'all that for a long time. That at some point the book needs to come out, right? But I was writing my book today, and I'm on a part where I'm talking about the book is about living a life of radical obedience. And I was on a part where I was talking about a conversation I recently had with one of my coaches. And I was writing in the book that I asked my coach at one point a question that seems ridiculous to me now, but it made so much sense to me then. And the question that I asked my coach was, is it possible for everything to be okay? Is it possible for everything to be okay? That was a real question that I had to ask my coach, because for so long, things were not okay. For so many of us, things are not okay, right? And so when you get to a point where, okay, everything seems to be okay, there's a big question mark hanging over it. Or, we've all probably heard the phrase like, well, I'm waiting for the boot to drop, right? And so I had to ask my coach, like, is it possible for everything to be okay? And it seems like a crazy question to me now, but it was such a real question then. And so I just want you guys to know, if anybody has ever had that question or is wondering, his answer was yes. And the answer is yes. It's totally possible for everything to be okay. And my hope is that, after we conclude this month of healing and talking about healing together, that not only will you believe that everything can be okay, but you will be on the fast track to it being so. Okay, so that is my love for you guys. Let me see. Oh, Jennifer Mom 612 says, I will be getting the book. Hey, I got my first sale. And your girl just got a sale. I got my first book sale. Yes. I can't wait. Like, I cannot wait to drop my book about radical obedience, guys. I'm so super excited about it. Let's see. Jacqueline says, acknowledge the need for help. Yes, that's a big takeaway. You got to acknowledge the need for help, that you actually need help. You know what I mean? It's just so super important. The acknowledgement is a big deal because we can't DIY everything, guys. I know y'all brilliant, but just do me a favor and double check your credentials. Double check your degree. Go back and look at your diplomas, and you're probably not qualified. You're probably not qualified to heal yourself. Like, just read through your. It's probably been a while since you read through your resume. Just read through it again. Just like reflect back on your work experience, and more than likely, you are not qualified to help yourself in this area. So. Just a little shade before we hop off, but you're not qualified. And so that's why we must seek wise counsel and get the help that we need. So just acknowledging that you're not okay, and even knowing what your issue may be, right? I'm like, yeah, I got abandonment issues from my dad. I got rejection issues. That doesn't make me qualified to solve it. And so I had to get in front of somebody who was qualified. Okay. And so that's it for me today, guys. 40 minutes in. I will see you guys back here next Monday. And I think we'll talk again before my next live masterclass. But let me tell you guys, just in case you can't make it next Monday, on October 23rd of this month, I'm teaching a masterclass for our people who are registered for our next 30-day vegan challenge. So we have I think we're coming up on 600 people registered for this challenge. And if you're interested in seeing me teach live in the Zoom room, and you want to like ask me real questions, and you want us to have a real back and forth conversation, then you need to get registered for our next 30-day vegan, salt, oil, and sugar-free challenge, because we have deep level conversations. And we had our first one on September 25th. Our next one is on October 23rd, coming up in just a couple of weeks at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, and that is all free. Okay, so make sure, yes, Lawanda, make sure you are registered. It's lisaangelsmith.com/challenge. It's pinned here if you're on YouTube. If you're watching on Instagram, it's in my bio, or you could just comment the word challenge on one of my posts and we'll send you the link to get registered. So if you're interested, if you love what you hear here on social media and you're interested in being in the live Zoom room with me and having those more intimate conversations, then that's the best place to do it. And that next intimate conversation is on Wednesday, October 23rd, y'all. So I will see you then, lisaangelsmith.com/challenge. And I hope to see